Hey everybody! The Pale Court is a fantastic Hollow Knight mod, centered on the Great 5 Knights and their story. It introduces 5 new charms, a new platforming challenge in the Abyss, and most importantly, 7 new bosses, 2 of those being variants of 2 of the new bosses. This is an extremely well made mod, brimming with love for this game. Most of the bosses receive new arenas, and all of them receive new musical themes, unique animations, and fully original movesets. The artistry on display is extremely impressive, and it may honestly be the best Hollow Knight mod. Everyone who is involved with it deserves a lot of praise, even if I personally disagree with some of their design choices when it comes to the bosses, as you'll see. This mod is famously difficult, and after beating all the bosses, yeah, I can see why. So today, I'll be ranking all of them, with the same criteria of my other Hollow Knight bosses rankings. Also, maybe you guys noticed, but I got a new microphone. It's the same one that Tommy Tellarico used, so that's fun. Let's just get onto it with number 7.
For his neutral special, he wields a gun.
To be honest, the Tiso fight isn't necessarily bad in a vacuum, but I feel like he doesn't fit into the mod and more importantly into Hollow Knight as a whole. The rest of the mod feels extremely well implemented into Hollow Nest, but Tiso just feels so out of place. Why the fuck does he have a gun? More so than any other boss in the mod, this one feels like a fan boss in regards to the presentation and, dare I say, the vibes. It's also a bit disappointing that he's the only boss that doesn't get a unique arena. He's simply thrown into the Molech Pantheon arena and that's it. Overall, Tiso feels a bit like an afterthought compared to the rest of the bosses. Beyond that, I don't enjoy this one gameplay-wise that much either. This is a very me problem to be honest, but I hate shielded enemies. I just find them so annoying. There are moments in which the blocking feels fair, but others when it feels so dumb. For example, there's an attack in which he drops bombs. Oh yeah, he has bombs too for some reason. And I feel like that would have been a fair moment to make him vulnerable to you. If you can find a way to touch the bombs and hit him, you should be rewarded for it. But no, he's fully invulnerable. In regards to his gun, I hate how he simply changes direction and keeps firing without missing a beat if you go around him. It's not necessarily hard to dodge, but the boss feels designed to have as little punish windows as possible. And when it comes to the darts, I personally hate that they remain on the field after being fired. It's like they designed it that way to piss me off in particular. With all of that being said, I'm still glad this boss exists. It's cool to actually have a Tiso fight in this game. And to be honest, critically, it isn't a terrible boss. It has a diverse moveset, it's pretty dynamic, and it's not too hard. It's just that many of its mechanics bother me in particular.
We're gonna go ahead and start off with the good old K6 barrel trolling.
When talking about the mighty Hegemol boss fight, I'll start with what I love about it. The atmosphere and art for this one is truly impeccable, and the peak of this mod when it comes to the visuals and overall presentation of it. The voice and animations for Hegemol are perfect. We never get to see his face, but his brutish personality gets to shine through. Even though the design is just the False Knight model, the slight change to his mace, making the head the seat of Hollow Nest, is a great design choice. Similarly, the music is a rearranging of the False Knight's theme, but with a much more grandiose, heroic, and powerful feeling to it. This is no longer a maggot that stole an armor. This is its rightful owner, wearing it proudly. And most of all, the background for this fight is immaculate. It is a portrayal of Hollow Nest in its prime, with citizens walking along its roads, chariots pulling resources and people, water flowing in an orderly manner, and even a functioning tram filled with passengers. Seeing Hollow Nest at its peak is a delight, and just this background makes the mod worth experiencing. They outdid themselves in a spectacular fashion. Truly beautiful work. Okay, let's talk about the gameplay now. Yeah, this fight is bullshit. This boss is a beginner's nightmare, because the problem isn't so much that his attacks are badly telegraphed, but rather that he has so many of them, and some work differently depending on the phase or even depending on how you are positioned relative to him. And by the time you figure this out, which will take you many attempts, you still have to deal with his extremely high speed, and more importantly, the large parts of the arena both him and his attacks cover. It's so frustrating just figuring out where to stand without getting hit. Hegemol has a huge hitbox, insane range with his mace, shockwaves on the ground accompany many of his attacks, and he even gets a couple of range attacks. These range attacks with the rocks, I swear to fucking god. The rocks he pulls from the ground change their trajectory depending on how far you are. Sometimes they'll be really close together, and sometimes they'll have a lot of space between them, making it a really inconsistent attack to try and dodge. Like, what do you mean he can throw them back? Fuck off! And I haven't even gotten to the goddamn barrels. Throughout the whole fight, there are barrels falling from the sky, and they are completely random. As if there already wasn't enough space for you to move safely, the fight throws this fully RNG wrench into the works. making the experience even more miserable. Similar to the False Knight, between phases Hegemol goes Rage mode and begins slamming the ground, and if the barrels were kept to this section of the fight, I would find them fair, even with their RNG positioning, since they make it riskier to pogo on him during the phase, making the damage less free. But alas, they are here throughout this whole fight. So you can tell me skillish all you want, but I simply don't agree. I think this one is badly designed. For the first victory, it took me like 46 tries, and what allowed me to beat it was using this tank build just to push through the damage, which made for the worst and least satisfying win in the whole mod pack. I've only beaten Hegemol on the regular and attuned version, and it was hell, so when it comes to people who are insane enough to do it on Ascended or even worse, Radiant, I can do no more than worry for their mental health. My sibling in the Pale King, why the hell do you do this to yourself? So yeah, the presentation for this boss is honestly the best of the whole mod, but its gameplay is inconsistent and frustrating. It's not necessarily the hardest one, just really annoying because of how much bullshit he can pull. Go watch this Holland's video. He actually goes into much more detail about why this is the case, and explains it much better than I could. But only do so after finishing my video, don't leave yet, please! I'm kind of in an awkward position right now, because I can't really talk about these two bosses on their own, so at number 4 and 5 I have Mysterious Semer and Mystic Semer. The reason these two variants are inseparable is that Mystic Semer's first phase is basically the Mysterious Semer's fight, but a lot shorter, so I have to talk about that first fight before I can get into the rematch. Only after talking both of them, I'll be talking about which one I prefer, because yeah, there is a clear winner for me. In regards to the first fight, I really like Mysterious Semer. The best thing about it is that the modders looked at Semer, a notably thin and nimble looking character, and made her swing and throw her needle around as if it was nothing. That is metal as hell. It's a very fun dichotomy, and the animation brings this idea to life wonderfully. Seeing her throw her needle at you at a bajillion kilometers is both hilarious and cool as fuck. Her moves perfectly combine strength and grace. Beyond her visual design, Semer's moveset makes for an extremely fast-paced and tight battle. There's barely any breathing room, and Semer doesn't stagger, forcing you into a fight that is constantly on the offensive, pressuring you to find clever moments to heal or outright sprint to the end, trying to take as little damage as possible. I particularly like her attack in which she throws her gigantic needle and then teleports to it. It is the only moment of respite you get, but it is pretty short, so you either risk the heal or get ready to unload strikes on her. Learning to dodge her attacks and strike back is a lot of fun, even if the range and hitboxes can feel a bit bullshitty. Like holy shit, that swing is enormous, dude. That being said, even though her moveset itself is very challenging, the fight itself is so short that it ends up being the easiest one of the mod, but easy in an artificial way. Because actually dodging her consistently is super difficult, but since you barely have to hit her, sometimes simply damage tanking can feel like the best strategy, even if you don't intend to do so. That is on the normal and attuned version, of course. Good luck trying that bullshit in the Ascended fight. And on a similar vein, the fight also suffers from being a bit repetitive. There's only no staggers, but also no phase changes. It is the same moveset throughout the whole thing. Yes, that moveset is fun like I already explained, but some more variety would have really improved the fight. Despite some of its issues, I do really enjoy this boss, and the visual design of the arena is incredible. The rows of delicate flowers are very fitting, considering that they originate from Semer's homeland, and the only way we could get a glimpse of it is by entering her dream. And of course, the presence of the traitor child is both beautiful and heartbreaking. With all of that being said, let me get into the Mystic Semer fight, or the rematch, or the second one, or the harder variant, or whatever you wanna call it. Like I mentioned already, Mystic Semer's first phase is basically a shorter version of the original fight, and like I already made clear, I enjoyed that original fight, so this first phase is fun. I particularly like how this rematch works as an extension of the first fight, more so than a variant. In the first one, we only saw a glimpse of her power, and now she's treating us to the whole deal. Given the context of the boss rush mode, in which you unlock it, I also like how it interacts with the player's expectations, subverting the fight they've come to know, similar to what the base game does with the Mantis Lords and Sisters of Battle in Pantheon 5. But yes, after that very nice yet short first phase, Semer reveals her second phase, and this second phase, well... it's just too hard. I think they went a bit too far with the difficulty here, and similar to Hegemol, it stops feeling like a boss you actually see in game, and it is exactly what people think of when they imagine ridiculous mod bosses. She instantly goes sicko mode, going at a speed that feels impossible to keep up with, and barely giving you any chance to hit her. It is particularly egregious when she becomes this ball of slashes, and even though it looks very cool, this whole sequence is just dumb. Like genuinely, what the fuck are you supposed to do here? After a while, it just becomes unsatisfying to even keep trying. This boss, just beating it on the regular attuned difficulty, took me about 60 attempts. It was insane. I had to install an HP mod because I had no idea how much progress I was making. I've never had to do that for any boss in either of these games. It legit was so fucking humiliating. And you know what the worst part is? I didn't even beat it with a regular nail or offensive build. I had to use this calf bullshit to beat it. The winning attempt effectively boiled down to tanking all of her damage, healing it off, and doing damage in the process thanks to one of the unique charms of the mod. And by the way, this was also the only fight I needed one of the overpowered mod charms to beat it. It ended up being boring and miserable, but I just wasn't capable of doing it with a regular build. This fight, contrary to the first one, also ends up going for way too long, and this second phase is even more repetitive. The fight is a really cool concept. Heavily incorporating the parry mechanic is an interesting idea, but I'll say it guys, it is too difficult. They went too far with this one, and pulled a real fan-made boss, you know? This is way worse than any regular fight in either of these games. I'd put it at the same level of bullshittery as Radiant Abstract. But you know, for an attuned boss, you can go ahead and tell me skill issue, and maybe that's the case, but I don't care. In my heart, I know I'm right, and that this is too hard. Which is a shame, because the vibes are on point. Like I already mentioned, I love how Semer moves, and her attacks look incredible, even the stupid ones. And the music is extremely well made, and the arena is beautiful. But sadly, even the arena has its issues, because even though it is very pretty, it is so white, so bright, and so filled with decorations that a lot of the time you can't even tell what moves Semer is telegraphing, making it even harder. If you couldn't tell, I prefer the mysterious version over the mystic one. I feel like there is a perfect middle point between these two fights that sadly doesn't exist. A fight that shortens the first phase while still being a continuation of it, just like the mystic one does, but that doesn't go completely fucking insane with the difficulty level with its second phase, unlike the mystic one. But yeah, for now, Mystic Semer goes in number 5, and Mysterious Semer goes in number 4. Let's continue to the third best boss.
Want a break from the ads?
Once again, I have two boss fights that I can't talk separately, since one is just a natural expansion of the other, so I'll go over each one and then rank them. Starting with Kindly Isma, I really like this fight, though I have my problems with it, and I'll just lead with those. This fight is notorious for making heavy usage of summons, and from the second phase onwards, I actually like how he uses them, since they are always the same summons. They are on the same place, and you can't even kill them, so they don't even feel like minions. They simply are an extra constant obstacle. But, during the first phase, the ads are so fucking annoying. They always begin in the same position, but if you kill them, he respawns them super fast, and possibly on a different place. And if you kill one of them, you better kill a second, because otherwise she'll spawn more, and instead of a max of 4, you'll have 5. Trying to kill the summons becomes a full serand, and you're better off simply letting them be an static obstacle for the rest of the phase. Let's just hope you don't kill one accidentally without realizing, leading to you being instantly overwhelmed by ads yet again. Besides the inconsistent use of minions, I have another notable issue with the first phase. Isma teleports around after attacking, making you chase her down, and during the second and third phase, I like how this mechanic is implemented. Since the arena becomes smaller, it's easier to reach her and get hits in, but during the first phase, when everything is super open, it can be kind of annoying and tiresome trying to get her. Finally, there's one attack of hers that's a little frustrating, and that is the one in which she loves acid. The fact that she's doing the attack is well telegraphed, but the trajectory of the orbs isn't. The trajectory only gets decided when she throws them, making it a frustrating attack to dodge consistently. Besides that one, every other attack is really well telegraphed, and it feels fair if you get hit by it. And yeah, I actually like this boss, even though I've only been complaining about it so far. I already alluded to it a little bit, but from the second phase onward, I think the fight gets so much better. The smaller arena and good use of summons makes for a tense but fair fight. If you get hit, it's your fault, without counting the stupid acid attack, of course. The last phase is really cool as well. I love it when bosses go rage mode and just spam one attack whenever they reach their last sliver of health. That's always a fun and interesting mechanic, as long as that last phase is short. Weaving in and out of her thorny vines and getting abyssal tricks on her for massive damage feels super satisfying. And when it comes to the presentation, this fight is of course beautiful. I don't know if Isma had an in-game model like the rest of the knights, or the mothers only had the white silhouette to work from, but regardless, Isma's design is beautiful. She is my favorite looking knight by far. Her mask is very unique, the lips of course fit her character, and the way she is animated conveys the agility and grace of the character very well. The music and arena themselves are also incredible. It even is a bit heartbreaking seeing Ogrim in the background. Overall, this is a really good fight, and it becomes great from the second phase onward. But yeah, the first phase is annoying, and I don't like it very much. Now, the rematch for this fight is more so a team-up. We start against Loyal Ogrim, and then Isma joins him, and right off the bat, I just love the idea for this boss battle. Seeing them fight together is a beautiful thing, and in general, I wish these games lean more into duo fights, since they are a really fun concept. In this particular case, they made it so Ogrim and Isma complement each other extremely well when it comes to their movesets. For example, with how Isma throws dunk balls that sprout vines, or how sometimes Ogrim throws them and Isma kicks them down. And the best showing of their connection is how they have particular attacks in which they take turns to do them. Like when Isma sprouts thorny vines from the ground and Ogrim remains bouncing around. The fight ends up being quite literally a combination of the two. The first phase in particular is just the White Defender boss fight, but with Isma sometimes appearing to attack, and even though you have two bosses to deal with, it ends up being less overwhelming than Isma's first phase, since you don't have to deal with her minions' bullshit. A unique aspect of this boss fight that I think is the best thing about it is that depending on which one of the two bosses you down first, you get a different last phase. If you beat Ogrim first, you face against Isma in her rage phase, and if you beat Isma first, you have to deal with the regular White Defender moveset. Realistically, most players will encounter the Isma final phase, since downing her first is a lot harder, but the mere fact that they made it two separate outcomes is really incredible. The whole boss battle feels like a natural and deadly dance between the two. It is a genuinely great concept, with a mostly good execution. Because yes, I have some issues with this fight. Sometimes it feels like there's too much shit on the screen, pun not intended, which can make it really frustrating when attempting to dodge, especially from the second phase onwards when the arena becomes smaller. There are some attack combos that genuinely feel impossible to dodge depending on where you are standing, especially with how fast both of these bosses and their attacks are. There's not a single moment to stop throughout the whole thing, making healing basically impossible, so you have to go all out on offense and there's very little room for mistakes. With all of that being said, I originally had Kindly Isma on top, and it even was my #1 pick for this mod, but after playing it again and redoing all the fights, given the great amount of bullshit of her first phase, I have to give the edge to the duo fight, even with some of the problems I have with it. So at number 3 is Kindly Isma, and at number 2 is Loyal Ogrim and Kindly Isma. These are both really good fights, but in the end, there is one that I like even more.
Yes, Queen! Slay! Slay! Slay your enemies!
Fierce Dryya is probably the first one of the Pale Court bosses. That is to say, it's pretty hard, but not insane, and it doesn't have any bullshit. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I love sword tools in these games, and Dryya is a beautiful execution of one. The fight has big Pure Vessel vibes, with the way she stomps the ground, her parry stance, her dagger projectiles, and just the way she swings her needle around. Just with that, the fight constructs a story in your head, one in which Dryya trained the Hollow Knight. But while the Pure Vessel leans more into its size and pure power, Dryya is more agile, striking in a precise manner. Her animations are really beautiful and convey her character's personality in an effective manner. Beyond that, gameplay-wise, it's an extremely fun one. It is very overwhelming at first, as every boss in this mod to be honest. But more so than any other, it actually has very well telegraphed attacks, and learning to read them and respond to them appropriately feels very rewarding. Out of all of the bosses, this was the one I was able to beat the easiest on Ascended, partly because of how well choreographed her attacks are. Because even though she executes her attacks super quick after telegraphing them, they all have clear ways of dodging them, and more importantly, ways to punish them. This is a fight that rewards patience and striking at the right time, which adds even more to the feeling of fighting a sword master. Pogos are particularly effective against her, as long as you can react quickly to her jump attack. Her range attacks, especially the one where she cuts the air, not only are extremely cool and distinct visually, but also add more variety into the battle, making it feel more dynamic, and finding a gap between the flurry of magical slashes is very satisfying. The short but fast-paced last phase is a great ender to the fight, adding a unique kind of challenge compared to the rest of it, even though you can cheese it by spamming Descending Dark. Just in case you're struggling with this phase and watching this video for some reason, though I doubt anyone is playing this mod for the first time in 2026. I only have one small issue with this one, and it is with the Pantheon version in particular. The Pantheon arena is beautiful, but it is also a bit too busy visually, making the fight harder in an artificial way, especially since Dryya doesn't contrast particularly well with the bright background, given how white she is. But that is such a small issue, and again, only relevant on the Pantheon arena. This is an incredible fight, with a banger of a music theme, and a beautiful overall presentation. I don't have much more to say about this one, but it is easily my favorite Pale Court boss. So, that's the list. I hope you guys like this shorter and simpler ranking. I'm working on a pretty big video, so I wanted to get something relatively quick in the meantime, and what better than to show some love for this incredible mod. You can install it with Lumafly. Go check it out if you haven't already. As usual, subscribe, comment, like, and that entire algorithm jazz. Okay everybody, have a nice day.